Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the inaugural Global Impact Forum. I'm Veronica Pedrosa and I'll be your host for the day. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. We have an agenda that is packed with ideas and information, and it's all emerging from the programs of our hosts, the UN Global Compact. Our theme is Uniting Business for a Better World, because we ask you to engage with the day's program to learn how our community of leaders is going about moving from reflection to action. We will be learning how business can take clear steps to demonstrate the bold leadership we need in the 10 years left before the target year 2030 to achieve the global goals, to make those years a decade of action, to transform business models and economies so that they become more just, more inclusive, and leave no one behind. Global challenges often require local solutions, and so this inaugural Global Impact Forum will showcase 4 initiatives to mobilize corporate action on the Sustainable Development Goals, or global goals. They are SDG ambition, young SDG innovators, target gender equality, and business ambition for 1.5 degrees. They are a suite of engagement opportunities we've called Global Impact Initiatives, designed to mainstream sustainable business practices and scale up solutions at ground level through the efforts of Global Compact local networks around the world. The forum will zoom in on what it takes to implement these initiatives at regional, national, and organizational levels. You will hear from governments about the advances they've made through multi-stakeholder partnerships, from UN and civil society leaders about their vision to scale collective impact, and from executives and young leaders in business about how their actions are leading to the achievement of the global goals. Before we move on to our first item, one last point to bear in mind throughout the day's events. There are 68 Global Compact local networks across all the world's regions. They play a central role in moving forward on corporate sustainability on the ground, at the national and local level, that is, and driving action towards the global goals. Throughout today and through them, we will bring together local perspectives with global missions. So please do check out sessions in the breakout rooms and expo booth area to hear experts from around the world share their knowledge and experiences. Now, it's a pleasure to introduce the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Amina Mohammed, to provide the welcome remarks for a day that, with your engagement, we hope will make a real difference.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, business leaders, friends, it is a pleasure to join you for the inaugural Global Impact Forum. I thank the UN Global Compact for convening such an impressive group of business leaders and sustainability experts and practitioners. For 2 decades, the UN Global Compact has had a clear mission: to unite business for a better world. To date, 11,000 companies and 3,000 non-business signatories in 160 countries have signed on to the compact. All these participants have committed to align their business policies and practices with 10 universal principles in support of human rights, labor rights, the environment, and the fight against corruption. With the COVID-19 pandemic, we confront a global development emergency unlike any other in the 75-year history of the United Nations. Millions of lives and livelihoods are at risk. Decades of development progress are being reversed. The crisis has laid bare the fragility of our national and global systems. Staggering levels of poverty and inequality, persistent gender bias and systemic race, a weakening of the international cooperation, and a trust in institutions. But as daunting as this moment feels, Agenda 2030 and its 17 Sustainable Development Goals charts the way for businesses to weather this storm and work together towards a more inclusive, resilient, and sustainable future. I urge you to meet this unprecedented moment. It is a time to match engagement and ambition with much more concrete action, tangible, measurable impact for the planet and its people, especially our youth and women. Recognizing that global challenges require local partnerships and solutions, the UN Global Compact and its local networks in 68 countries have rolled out 4 initiatives to raise ambition for the delivery of the SDGs. The SDG Ambition Initiative sets a series of best practice business benchmarks for sustainability based on the SDGs. It calls upon business leaders to set targets against these benchmarks, taking bold, comprehensive action across their operations and value chains. The Young SDG Innovators Programme offers an opportunity for companies to identify today's young talent and tomorrow's leaders and give them the tools to fast-track business innovation towards the SDGs. 325 young professionals from 130 companies in 10 countries have participated in the first round of the programme, developing more than 80 sustainable business solutions. To cite just one example, a team of young SDG innovators has focused on energy security for remote and local communities in the United States and Canada, communities that normally rely on diesel fuel generators as their only source of power. The innovators are already working towards reliable, sustainable electricity in these communities through power purchase agreements in which residents gain equity ownership. The third, targeting gender equality. It's an accelerator program for companies to set and reach ambitious corporate targets for women's participation and leadership at all levels, starting at the top. More than 3,500 companies have signed the CEO statement of support for women's empowerment principles. But the challenge remains. 2/3 of these companies still need to set specific time-bound targets. Increasing women's participation doesn't only lead to an improvement in women's lives, but will also make businesses much more diverse. Gender improvements and board diversity has been associated with a greater innovation and market growth. Finally, business ambition for 1.5 degrees Celsius engages companies in setting science-based targets consistent with limiting global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial levels. Business is also working with local and national governments to raise their ambition level on climate. To date, more than 280 companies have signed on to the 1.5 campaign. Limiting global warming is, of course, an opportunity for a just transition to green economies that avoids the calamities of climate change. In your discussions today, I encourage you to share your insights about how to apply and deepen the sustainability agenda in your day-to-day operations and your business ecosystem, thus transforming your core business model. This forum is a meeting of minds matching local perspectives or global ambitions. It is about answering hard, practical questions with actionable and scalable solutions. It is about uniting business for a better world. I wish you all a productive dialogue that sparks a surge of action on Agenda 2030 in your countries, companies, and communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Amina Mohammed, UN Deputy Secretary General there. You're watching Uniting Business Live from the United Nations Global Compact in New York. You can follow all the action right here and on social media using the hashtag Uniting Business. Although traveling to New York in person is impossible right now, we are thrilled to have you here on our interactive event platform, and I encourage you to take a look and to use its many exciting and innovative features, including the event chat, which is located on the right side of your screen, where you can say hello to the other attendees and introduce yourselves. We've made it easy to connect with your fellow attendees. You can see them in the attendee tab, also on the right side of your screen. That's where you can send private messages and even invite them for a video chat. The networking section is in the navigation bar on the left of your screen, and it enables you to chat and even connect over video with other attendees and make new connections. You can even share contact information. Give it a try, you might make some new friends. There's also a pavilion area that you should definitely visit. Our 15 sponsors will be showcasing their sustainability work and hosting their own live sessions. Be sure to use the links to find more information on each company. Also in the pavilion area, you will find UN Global Compact studios featuring information on our Target Gender Equality Initiative and the UN Global Compact Academy. So, as you can see, we have worked hard to put together an innovative, engaging and informative virtual event. So please explore the full range of opportunities to learn, engage and network over the next 3 days. Even though we may be far apart, we are united in the business of a better world. Now, to the first of the global impact initiatives I mentioned earlier. It is SDG Ambition, designed to challenge and support companies in the effort to be more strategic and transformational in how they run their businesses to deliver on the 2030 agenda. At the core of this initiative, the UN Global Compact, together with SAP and Accenture, with support from 3M, is proposing a set of SDG ambition benchmarks that all companies can align their targets with. This session will feature the launch of the Integration Guide. It provides technical guidance for how companies can accelerate action on ambitious goals aligned with the SDGs through integration into business management and systems. The session will also share plans for the global rollout of the SDG Ambition Accelerator program in the coming months. Coming up, Sanda Ojiambo, CEO and Executive Director of the UN Global Compact, will lead a discussion with the initiative's partnering organizations, represented by Julie Sweet, CEO of Accenture, Christian Klein, CEO of SAP, and Michael Roman, CEO of 3M. But first, it is my great pleasure to introduce Marta Delgado, Undersecretary for Multilateral Affairs and Human Rights at Mexico's Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
My name is Marta Delgado, Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs of Mexico. Good morning, Mrs. Sanda Ojiambo, Executive Director of the UN Global Compact, dear high-level representatives, leaders from business, government, the United Nations, civil society, and participants of this Global Impact Forum. On behalf of Foreign Affairs Minister Marcelo Ebrard, I am very pleased to join this forum organized by the Global Compact. Thank you very much for the invitation. I want to congratulate the Global Compact on its 20th anniversary. It is very inspiring to see all the work that you have promoted to support the private sector and the UN system towards accelerating progress in our common goal of the Agenda 2030 and strengthen public-private partnerships in a critical time. COVID-19 is a defining moment for the future of our global economies and societies, and the spirit of partnerships enshrined in the UN Global Compact is more important than ever. This forum will contribute to address the biggest challenge of all our times and discuss the medium and long-term socioeconomic effects of the pandemic. In many countries, there is a risk that COVID-19 could reverse sustainable development gains. We will need to revisit the implementation of international and multilateral agendas in the first fight against poverty, inequalities and climate change, and many other priorities within our countries. As we emerge from this current crisis, the Global Compact has a key role to play. We need to ensure that business strategies, goals and plans contribute to build more equal, sustainable and resilient societies. Mexico recently joined a member of the government group because we share the values and the mission of this important initiative, and we recognize the fundamental role of the Global Compact to amplify multi-stakeholder collaborations. Less than a decade from 2030, we believe that it is important to redouble efforts and actively seek alliance with all sectors of society to effectively advance towards the fulfillment of the SDGs. The launching of the SDGs ambition, introducing business benchmark for the decade action at the UN Global Leaders Summit last June, encourages more ambitious action by companies on additional includes living wages, deforestation and circular economy. Call upon these efforts that will define the advancement of the SDGs and other agendas to address challenges of our lives are more importantly, and we build more sustainable and resilient society. I am delighted to join this program. Mexico and the UN Global Compact invite everybody to take more ambitious and comprehensive actions across business operation and value chains by setting goals in line with these benchmarks. The government of Mexico is committed to support the Global Compact in these efforts, and we invite all the participants of this Global Impact Forum to join us and start making multi-stakeholder impacts among all our sectors. Our main challenge as governments beyond the economic reactivation remains that the new normal is based on the needs of the people in a fair, diverse, inclusive and sustainable manner. Our job is to make alliances that allows us to achieve it. Companies have a great potential to become more sustainable and aligned in their strategies, operation, and the principles of human rights, labor standards, environmental protection, anti-corruption based on the SDGs. We want companies to be seen not only as donors or financial, but also as important drivers to produce inclusive economic growth and job creation. The world is not delivering progress towards the SDGs at the pace and scale needed. I invite all the businesses that are here today to incorporate the 17 Sustainable Development Goals into core business management and join the SDG ambition to step up transformative change, unlocking business value, building business resilience, and enabling long-term growth. I thank all the participants for joining this important conversation, and also thank Mrs. Sandra Ojiambo for leading these amazing and fundamental efforts of the UN Global Compact in a challenging year like this. I finally thank CAP and the Accenture partners of this initiative for developing an initiative business strategy that significantly increase their positive impacts on the SDGs, and wish you all the best luck. Thank you very much.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, greetings from wherever you may be around the world. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Greetings from New York. So it's been quite the year. So far in 2020, we've experienced social, environmental, and economic upheaval on a global scale. A global health crisis that led to an economic crisis, an unprecedented climate crisis, and really one of the biggest movements for racial justice in recent memory. The truth is that if collectively we were further along the road to achieving the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, we could have been better prepared to deal with these crises. I read recently writer and activist Naomi Klein, who states, in times of crisis, seemingly impossible ideas suddenly become possible. And the next few months provide a window of opportunity for all of us to make the seemingly impossible possible. It's a time for reinvention, time for reset, time for a rebuild to shape a sustainable future, time for our local ambitions and our global ambitions to merge and match. For the private sector, this reinvention must address the wider social and environmental impact of business strategies and operations in ways that drive both business benefit and societal transformation. We must strive to ensure that business purpose and business strategies have the Sustainable Development Goals at their core. The business of business is truly no longer just business. Business must be involved in building resilient systems, supporting societal transformation, and supporting the creation of inclusive societies and a just transition. To help companies become more bold, more ambitious, and transformational in these efforts, the UN Global Compact launched the SDG Ambition Initiative earlier this year, together with our partners Accenture Strategy and SAP. I'm happy to announce that 3M has also come on board as a patron and sponsor of the SDG Ambition. Thank you, and we look forward to your continued collaboration. The SDG Ambition aims to provide a clear management framework for integrating sustainability into every business decision towards the decade of action on the global goals. And at our Leaders Summit in June this year, we had issued an initial set of 10 SDG ambition benchmarks. We are challenging companies to set specific goals aligned with these benchmarks across their operations and their value chains. However, ambitious goals will only help accelerate progress if they are tangible, practical, and scalable. Too often, we see corporate sustainability goals and objectives either sitting siloed within business departments or untracked. And that's why we are pleased today to also release the SDG Ambition Guide to Business Integration. It's called Designing Business Systems for the Decade of Action. The guide describes in depth about how business integration is clearly important around managing sustainability in a systemic manner. Meaningful SDG integration requires top-level leadership to cascade through all the business units and hardwire the SDGs into core business strategy and business decisions. The guide will help answer the oft-answered question by business leaders and their employees. How do we do this? The guide is about moving from short-term, siloed, static data collection to intelligent systems that take a long-term view of the business. And the guidance applies to all sizes of companies and across business ecosystems partnerships. To support business integration of the 2030 Agenda, the UN Global Compact and our 68 country-based local networks are working in partnership with companies worldwide. Informed by the SDG Ambition Guide, we want to help our businesses and our partners set ambitious corporate targets, accelerate integration into their core business, and effectively and transparently report on their progress. So I'm delighted to now introduce three of our key partners in this effort: Julie Sweet, the CEO of Accenture, Christian Klein, the CEO of SAP, and Mike Roman, the CEO of 3M. Thank you to all of you for making the time to join me in what I know will be a productive conversation on the urgent need for all companies to meet today's challenges and unite for a better world. Greetings and good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sana.
So I have a couple of questions for all of you, really about the SDG ambition and the challenges we must set for business going forward. And allow me to start with you, Christian. You know, the SDG ambition is important today, now more than ever. And in your view, why is it important for businesses to respond to these global challenges with such a high level of ambition?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Sandra. And indeed, you know, we as business leaders clearly have to acknowledge the social, but also the environmental challenges we are facing today. And actually, we as the CEOs have to commit to build sustainable business models. And it's not only our employees and our customers who are expecting that sustainability is at the top of every CEO agenda. It's all of our stakeholders who are saying, you know, you have to make sure that you're growing your business, that you're creating jobs, but that you're also doing it in a sustainable way. And I also see this change already happening. I mean, in former times, we talked about digital transformation to improve the top and the bottom line of a company. Now, a lot of customers are coming to us and tell me, how can I also improve my green and my social line and dimension, which was not so much on the agenda, you know, in past days. And in order to do that, I guess for us, it's very important, together with partners like Accenture and 3M, is to also, first of all, creating the transparency around that. How do we measure sustainability? How do we measure you know, certain business activities and how they impact actually the social and the green line of a company? And this is why we are working heavily together to set those standards and to also increase the accountability in and outside of an enterprise. And then after the transparency, it's about taking action. It's overdue. And there, of course, new technologies can help to not only drive profitability, but at the same time, sustainability. This is not anymore a contradiction. Together with our partner startups and our whole ecosystem, actually, we are building now technologies, for example, to move to the circular economy, to produce your goods in the same cost-effective way, but eliminating waste across the value chain. And new technologies can really help that not anymore profitability is a contradiction to sustainability. And that's the way how we want to move forward together with our partners, creating transparency, creating awareness, but also taking action with the solutions we have in this case, intelligent technologies.
Christian, that's great. If I could dig a little bit deeper, because you've talked a lot about the role of technology. How would you respond to this, say, from the perspective of a medium-sized company or a smaller enterprise, again, around the ambition? Is the importance and the imperative also the same?
Absolutely. I mean, no matter if you're a very large enterprise or a smaller enterprise, today actually we can, really help all kinds of organizations to drive sustainability across the value chain. And so from that perspective, actually, we are helping our customers to not only, help them to use technologies, but also helping them, to also redesign business processes, to redesign and rethinking how they run their businesses. And this is actually what Julie and I are talking a lot about. In all the future transformation projects, no matter where the customer is, no matter in which industry, no matter which size, actually, we also have to go one step further and based on our skills, on the work we do, help, all customers to become more sustainable enterprises going forward.
Absolutely. Thank you, Christian. Julie, let me turn to you. From Accenture's perspective, why are you so committed and excited to this initiative? And how is SDG Ambition different from what you've done before? Accenture's been a long-standing partner of the Global Compact, certainly, and particularly on this specific platform.
Great. Well, thanks, Sanda. I couldn't agree more with Christian about there really being something very different now in terms of strategic intent and commitment from the top, and both Mike at 3M and Christian at SAP really symbolize businesses that are building sustainability into what they do every day. And I've seen that across the board. And that is a commitment that we believe is at every level of enterprise. I think what's different today is that if you think about the context of COVID and the need to accelerate digital, because we're now living in a remote world, a contactless world, the need for technology has been really clear, and there's lots written about it. What's really happening is that you're seeing a replatforming through technology of global business. And so this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to replatform, to change the business of business and build sustainability into the design. So lots of the issues of the past where it's expensive to only invest in technology related to sustainability can be built into the changing of processes, the implementation of technology. This is something that we're working closely to with SAP, and that's what this particular initiative with the SDG Ambition is all about. It's building sustainability by design. And to your point about different kinds of different sizes of companies, the work that we've done is really to enable the medium and small businesses to also benefit from the investments and commitments of other companies who've led ahead. So think of the ambition as both informing, enabling, and then allowing you to act together. And I really encourage as many companies as possible to join, to be a part of collecting the information that will allow us to all move faster. And that's what I'm so excited about, because there's a commitment. There is something that's happening in the world that requires us to implement technology, to move faster, to change processes. And we are now together able to provide the information to inform, enable people to act, and then act, and it becomes a circular benefit for all.
Yeah. Thanks, Julia. I alluded to this in my opening comments. One of the most often asked questions I hear from leaders is, how do we do this? And I think what you've really elaborated on here is the steps, the process. And I think that just makes the guide so much more useful and so much more informative. So again, truly looking forward to getting this out and getting this out to as many partners as possible. Mike from 3M, you've recently joined us as a patron of this platform. Thank you so very much. Could you speak a little bit about your ambition for joining as a patron, and what what really are your aspirations for the impact of the SDG Ambition program?
Well, thank you, Sandra, for the question. And it's our pleasure to join SAP and Accenture to help lead this ambition forward. We really appreciate the opportunity to help champion these important issues. Sustainability, environmental stewardship, these have been core to our values since we were founded 118 years ago. We work every day to apply science to life, and it's never been more important than it is now to use our science and our technology to champion sustainability and environmental stewardship. It's really part of the purpose that drives us. It's in our vision. Our vision is to use our technology to advance every company, our products to enhance every home, our innovation to improve every life. And it's that last part that often becomes a shorthand for 3Mers, improve every life. That's what we want to do. And sustainability is core to who we are. It's from a grassroots, from a historical perspective, it's a long-standing commitment from 3Mers. Started with our pollution prevention PAYS program almost 50 years ago, and we've added increasingly ambitious goals as we've learned more and built out that core value. Today, it's part of what we do to help our customers. We build in sustainable differences in every product. It's part of our new product introduction requirements that every product make a difference sustainably. We also are out in the community promoting this leadership and really looking for how can we help. We have been conducting for the last several years a state of science index survey across the world, across more than a dozen countries. We're going to have our 4th year results coming in a couple of weeks. Had some early look at what we're hearing. This year, the results are very positive about how science is on the rise. You can see that science is taking center stage in the middle of the fight with pandemic. People are seeing science as a way to make a difference. Our data confirms that corporations like 3M, we're expected to use science to help the public, to make a difference for all of our stakeholders, to partner with other companies, to partner with NGOs, academic institutions, to solve problems, to solve near-term problems and to solve long-term problems. And our index really, I would say, underscores that we're on the right track. And we know as a company, we're not alone. Working with other companies, United Nations, Global Compact, we know that kind of partnership will create an opportunity to move more quickly and broadly and really advance the sustainable development goals. We believe there's a power in collaboration and partnership. We believe companies have a responsibility to step up and act. And we're honored to join SAP and Accenture to support the UNGC's Ambition program. We know that will make a difference. It's never been more clear than it has been in the pandemic that these kinds of collaborations and partnerships are powerful in the way to really solve the problems and lead forward. Our fight for social justice is another area where it's clear that we have to step up. Companies and company leadership have a responsibility to act to make a difference. We've learned a valuable lesson in the last, I would say, 6 months, that when we come together around a common cause with determination and those strong partnerships, we can take on the biggest challenges. So we're excited to be part of this ambition. We're ready to help lead and work with others to do the same and deliver on the promise of these important goals. So thank you for the opportunity to be part of this today, Sandra.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks. And you've talked a lot about, the lessons learned in the last 6 months. Let me go back to Christian. I mean, what do we need to do to raise corporate ambitions for the SDGs and make sure that companies can move from incremental progress to really accelerate transformative change? I mean, Mike's talked about the upheaval and the transformation of the last 6 months globally. So what do we need to do to make sure that companies can accelerate this transformational change?
I mean, first, Sandra, I guess everyone needs to acknowledge that there are, big challenges out there. Just last week, when I talked to customers in the US, we talked about the wildfires on the West Coast. When I talked to customers in APJ, we talked about terrible floodings in many, many countries happening now at a much faster, pace than before. And so we all have to realize the clock is actually ticking. And of course, what we as the CEOs of such large enterprises can do is, first of all, lead by example. We want to be a sustainable enterprise by our own. And this is why we also, for example, committed to be carbon neutral by 2025. our data centers in the cloud. They are already today sourced only by renewable energy. And there are many other examples, what we are now driving across the company. And again, it's not only that we have to do that, because we want to also show that we are a sustainable enterprise. Our employees and our customers are expecting that. But together with our partners like 3M and Accenture, we want to go one step further. I mean, SAP is known for over 50 years now to run the most resource-intensive processes of our customers. So we also thought about how can we, help our customers to build sustainable enterprises. And together with Accenture now, as I mentioned before, we want to, for example, make visible the carbon footprint of our customers across their value chain so that they can measure it and also can take action on it with intelligent technologies. We are just going through our complete solution portfolio. For example, in procurement, we want to make sure that in the future, customers can not only buy and procure based on costs and quality, but also based on sustainability. In the supply chain, we are now kicking off an initiative with partners where we really want to abandon child slavery from the supply chains of our customers. There are networks out there where we now can detect very easily, who actually, was in correlation to child slavery or slavery in general in the past. And this is, to my point early on, this is where we want to go one step further. We want to help, SAP to become a more sustainable business. But again, also, we want to do the same for our customers.
Thank you. Would any of the two of you want to just jump in and speak a little bit about transformational change from your perspective, Mike or Julie?
Maybe jumping in on supply chain for a moment. This is exactly what I was talking about. Like, we know COVID has disrupted supply chains. We see companies around the world needing to get new data. They're changing their supply chains. And they have to do that in order to serve their companies. And what Christian, said is so important, because if we know that there has to be significant change in supply chain, if we set the goal that when we make those changes, we will build into it the better ability to, make sure that we're not using child labor, right? To have the analytics around whether our suppliers, also are reducing their carbon footprint, all of these things, because we have to change the supply chains. That's going to happen. And why I think this is so important is that we have to treat, and I think what you're hearing, and 3M's been doing it for 100 years, right, is make this a priority, an actual business goal. And therefore, you need things like benchmarks, because if you have a goal, you need to say, what is it, right? It has to have a number. And what we're helping do with this ambition is coming together and saying, here's the benchmark so that you can set your goal, you can embed it in what you have to do anyway, that here's how you measure the goal, which we all know is, as business leaders, is critically important. And then here's the information around the processes that have to change that allow you to have an execution plan. It's, doing what comes naturally to all of us as CEOs and applying it, to sustainability. And that is what I am so excited about, because it's very doable from a cost perspective, and there's really a roadmap to treat it like a business priority and therefore achieve greater success.
Thanks.
And Sanda, the word transformation in business circles, it's maybe one of the most overused words. We apply it in many places, but it really does apply to how we need to think about supply chain. So we need to continue to drive day by day, plant by plant, so lean value stream by lean value stream improvements. And that's part of our core values, as I was talking about. We also need to think bigger. We need to transform our supply chains. We're working in partnership with both SAP and Accenture to look at how do we drive a much different approach to our supply chains, a more efficient, digitized version of 3M. And that gives us a way to think bigger, really transformational in the way we can drive more efficient, more productive, better performing, more competitive future view of our supply chains. And it needs to really make a difference in sustainability. Our teams, we've set 3 big ambitions when we think about this transformation. It's science for circular, and how do we as a material science company reduce material waste. We've taken 30% of our factories worldwide now to zero landfill waste, and we are going to not stop until we have them all zero landfill waste. We think of science for climate and how can we really make a big difference as a leader in climate, in positively impacting the climate and in the environment in general. And then science for community, making a difference, as I talked about earlier, in promoting science as part of the foundation for solving some of these big problems. That's the way to get at it for us. It's those bigger challenges. We know we're going to have to be there in the future for our stakeholders and to be a viable, competitive enterprise. So there's a big business motivation for it as well. But it's that idea of big transformational leadership that drives us.
Thanks. Julie, 17 goals, 169 targets. When you speak to CEOs, do you feel that business is fully utilizing the value of technology to realize and track their commitments to global challenges? And again, how can SDG ambition help CEOs and business leaders navigate all of this work?
Well, the first thing I would remind everyone is focus and scale, right? So if you get a little overwhelmed by 17 goals and 169 sub-goals. And so, I think all of us have to kind of remember the basics of focus and scale, the impact. And that's certainly what we do at Accenture. And you heard that with Mike, where they have a very focused, these are the three things that, we're doing. And I know Christian has a similar view. We definitely know that we're not measuring progress enough. And that's why, you have the SDG ambition that helps people. And then, frankly, there's more work that's being done. Christian and I are right now working together because they're doing a lot of investment and we're helping shape, what in fact do companies need. And so we don't have all of the technology that we need, but we have a lot today that can be used. And so this is an ongoing area of significant investment. But I do think that focus and scale is important. I'd add one thing that we're doing this year, and there have already been some leading companies that have been doing this. But, one of the things we committed to in Davos is that for the first year, we just finished our fiscal year, we're incorporating our reporting on our SDG goals into my annual shareholder. In the past, we've talked about some of the key areas, but we want to really start putting together, our annual report on our financial results with our annual report on how we're doing against our SDG goals, because symbolism matters, right? And we really believe that these goals are a part of our responsibility as a company, but they're also a part of our success as a company. And so making sure that we are visually, for our people, our investors, and our communities, showing that we need to report on them at the same time. And I'm really excited about that because I do think that there's an element of inspiration and also, clear messages that we need to send. And we no longer are going to look at them separately.
Actually, looking forward to seeing that report when it comes out. So we have a couple of minutes left. I wanted to ask each of you to just speak a little bit about business and government and how business, government, and the UN perhaps need to come together more closer to really deliver on the SDGs. I think the clear call for the SDGs was for a lot stronger partnerships. How would you want business and the UN to work better together, stronger together to deliver on this decade of action?
I can start, Sandra. Of course, first of all, the work we are doing together, the UN, together with companies like Accenture, 3M, SAP, and many others, has, of course, for us an immense value, as it helps us to set certain standards. To Julie's point, there is not one global standard for how to measure carbon footprint. And when you don't know what to measure, actually, how can you improve something and also then drive accountability? And this is where, this alliance here is really creating an immense value. And also, of course, it gives all of us a platform, to talk about it and to raise awareness. Because today, not in all parts of the world, I guess, there is the same kind of awareness and the same kind of urgency, in place. And this is what we have to change. We as CEOs have to use our platform, but together with the UN, of course, we can scale and raise awareness across the globe. And this is why, I definitely look forward to engage even closer in the future.
Julie, maybe I'll give you the last word. I would say, Sanda, one of the lessons we've learned again in the middle of the pandemic is partnerships, public-private, other companies are critical, and these have to be CEO-led initiatives. This has to be something that is a clear priority. It can't be delegated broadly in the enterprise and be successful. And then we have to take it on. This is one of the things as companies we bring to the table. We know how to solve big business challenges. We set goals. We build strong project plans. We manage those well. We hold ourselves accountable. We dedicate resources to our priorities. These are kind of the building blocks of effective public and private partnerships. And I think that's where we need to provide leadership. As CEOs, the three of us, we can step up and provide that kind of leadership, bring together those partnerships, and then really focus them like we would at for my vernacular, any business priority, drive them that way. And I know that will be successful.
Maybe I'll just end with two words: humility and speed. These collaborations to me are a demonstration that we all have to be humble, have the humility to know that we have to learn from others, right? And there are many companies who are doing great things. The governments have a different perspective. The NGOs have a different perspective. And having the humility to say that we need to come together and learn from each other is what is going to give us speed. And in the past, we've done too much wonderful things as a company, but we haven't learned enough and come together as, companies. And you see that in the stories around the world of the fantastic work that many companies are doing and governments are doing, and the ability to bring together those great things, learn from each other, is what is going to get us the speed that is so critical if we're to have a better future.
Thank you. Great point. And thank you, Julie, Christian, and Mike, for joining me and really sharing your insights about the transformation, the importance of speed, Sunny, the importance of humility in getting going on this SDG ambition. So I hope that you in the audience will also now join us through the SDG Ambition Accelerator Program, where we hope to encourage thousands of companies around the world to step up and turn commitment into action by aligning with the SDG business benchmarks, as our panelists have so ably demonstrated to us. Companies can sign up on our website now to take part in the first round of the SDG Ambition Accelerator, in partnership with currently more than 25 local networks around the world. More details on this program and the new integration approach can be found on the Designing Business Systems for the Decade of Action guide, as well as individual briefs on each benchmark. Over the next couple of months, we at the Global Compact will be working with our partners and stakeholders to continue to refine these guidance and make them even more applicable for all your companies and all your businesses. So as I end, I'd like to invite all of you to think critically about how together our companies can answer the call to the Decade of Action by being more ambitious on the Sustainable Development Goals. I hope you join us in moving beyond incremental progress towards transformation and achieving greater levels of ambition on the Sustainable Development Goals. Thank you all very much.